Do we do this again? Do we bring someone in who's got all the athletic ability in the world, which he clearly has, and how do we go about it? We did it with Sonny Bill Williams and it worked. But I'm not sure. You tried it with Benji Marshall.
How many test matches did Sonny Bill start?
Not many. But are you saying, based on what we've got now, if we picked the team today, he could possibly make it?
No, not in the squad. But if everyone's fit and available, if Anton Leonard-Brown is on the field, I think at the moment he's just sitting outside that group. Yeah. But they've invested some serious time in the last 2 years into Roger Tuivasa-Sheck.
Totally. And I think, to be totally honest, it's a tough position. When he first came out, and he had a good season with the Blues, you know, that start of that first year. Hard because of the content. You know, you're coming from league and it's a specialised position, 12. You're not only sort of going out there to do his magical feat that he has and beat defenders and actually tackle, but you also have to make some calls. And the hard part of that is actually adjusting to being the call maker alongside your 10. You know, when your 10 goes sort of missing, you've got to step up. That's where he's really struggled. But I don't think, based on, I think he's going to be struggling to make the Rugby World Cup team unless someone gets injured.
Where would you have played him?
I would have played him at fullback.
No way.
Oh, 100%. Everyone talked about the fact we've done...
Have you ever seen a rugby league fullback kick the ball back?
What's that? I've seen him grubber it when he's had to, when he's gone to the front line. I've seen him being a playmaker. I think he had the ability of that. But I wouldn't have done it at Super Rugby. This is the issue. You can't learn your trade at Super Rugby. If you haven't played for a number of years, you couldn't... We tried to do it with Benji Marshall and it didn't work.
Last year, you were talking about how you want some of our backfielders to improve their on-the-run kicking. It was one of your expertise. Do you think that Roger Tuivasa-Sheck could have come back to fullback and played the rugby kicking game?
So we asked Roger Tuivasa-Sheck to become Ma Nonu, right? How long did it take Ma Nonu to become Ma Nonu? Where did he start for the Hurricanes?
You didn't answer my question.
Where did he start? He was on the wing. Oh, yeah, hold on. But Ma Nonu couldn't kick the ball either, remember?
I would have played him on the wing. I would have played Tuivasa-Sheck on the wing and then forced him into going there to learn his trade. I think the kicking was a
decision. Who decided to play him in the midfield?
I thought he should have been a midfielder.
Well, the Blues signed him as a midfielder.
I thought
you think wing, fullback, and you think midfield.
Oh, look,
I honestly think he's had bad luck. Full stop. He's had no consistency of games. Yeah. Like, you think about Sonny Bill. Sonny Bill came back and played the whole season for the Chiefs at 12, right? They left him there. Roger probably hasn't put 10 games together, has he?
It's hard to say, yeah.
Well, he hasn't because he's been in the All Black environment, because he hasn't been playing NPC rugby. He hasn't had that opportunity. We should have left him alone. And that's one of those things, right? When you make an investment like this, the initial reaction is we've got to get him out there playing so people can see him. He actually needed a year back in the game, playing as many games of rugby as he possibly could at every single level available to him. So all of a sudden he learned all of the skill set that is required and got an understanding of time and space and depth and all those things, Mils, that you need. Too hard to learn. An international at test match level, too difficult for the
timing wasn't on his side, because if you think of the year the All Blacks had last year, and then, you know, we ended up bringing in a fullback into second five. You know, we brought, you know, Barrett in to actually try and fix that. The injuries that we had, we weren't quite confident on letting him sort of start there because the team was under pressure. So it didn't actually quite work out for him in terms of that sense, in terms of the ride that he would have got had he been in a really successful team that was sort of going forward. Great player. You know, and I think that I'll go back to that first year when I was thinking that he'd play wing when he came over, but when he played for the Blues at second five, he showed some stuff that I was like pretty amazed with in that first sort of 3 to 4 rounds.
Well, let's pick up on a couple of other things that Ian Foster talked about. The look at 10 settled, too early to show their hand, but for you two on form right now, would you be putting Damien McKenzie in there at 10?
That's a tough one, eh? I mean, form. If you picked on form, you'd say he would be. I tend to think that Mo'unga still is the 10. It's a hard one because Damien's playing, you know, so well. But he's got the luxury, hasn't he? He's got three quality 10s that he's going to pick from. I actually think, you know, Beauden Barrett's our 15. And I think the other two are fighting it out to be the 10 and sort of the way they go about it. So it's interesting to hear him say the maturity, you know, that McKenzie's actually showing, because he has done a lot. He's sort of nailed his game down to not be so open as what he used to be.
What are you laughing at?
I'm laughing because I know where he's going. You're going with Damien McKenzie at 10, right?
No.
You're not?
No. He is the greatest bench player in the world, and we will not win the World Cup unless he comes on late and completely cuts people open. He won't like that. He could start at number 10 at any other country in the world. The thing that I believe about 10s is you need to give them the keys to the house, right? They need to go, Richie Mo'unga, this is your football team. Go, son.
Yep.
Right? Or Bodie or Damien. You can't mess with that this year. We've got 5 games. Make your decision and do it. However, for me, I love Damien McKenzie has brought a new look for the defence to look at. I'll keep saying it. He plays like a rugby league standoff. Runs across the field. He's got guys cutting off him, different angles. And I think that is more difficult for defence systems. They've got to slow up. You know, what we're seeing from the other 10s at the moment is a lot of kicking games. So for me, he's in the side. If you started him, I'd be happy because I love the way he plays. But I think bringing him on late, the last 20, 25 minutes, wow. You need to be careful with tired defences, and I think he'll win us the World Cup.
I want to look a little bit deeper into this a little bit later on because there's some things that both of them are doing that are critical, actually, for all 3 of those if we're going to have success in the Rugby World Cup.
Just to finish, how good was Fozzie?
Yep.
Open, honest.
It was.
You know, told us stuff, said players some of them need to step up. How good was that?
Well, that's the thing. You asked the question about the wingers. He name-checked a couple of wingers that had a slow start to the season, Caleb Clark and Mark Talia. Do you think he's happy with where his wingers are at right now?
No, he's clearly challenging them to be better. But he did today. He named a couple of other guys, and Sean Stevenson and Amoni Narawa. And he's my bolter, Amoni Narawa, for the All Blacks this year, this Rugby World Cup team. I really like the way that he's played. He hasn't played the last couple of weeks, but he's big, he carries, he's good under the high ball, and he's good at the one thing, I believe, that Ian Foster talked about. Defensively, he makes good decisions, and he's committed to his defensive game, and he can hit. This is what we all do. This is what all our outside backs do in this country. They score tries. This guy here, to me, is the one, if he can continue to play, he'll force his way in with the injury to Sevu Reece.
Nehe Milaskata took the world by surprise. You've got to realise that everyone studies everyone else. It's going to be good to have a bolter that the world hasn't seen. I think that with Talia and Clark, it's both a defensive thing. I think, you know, different defensive systems when you close the gates, hard to read. So I think that's what Foster will be talking to them about. Because you can't, I mean, can you fault their attack? Probably not. So I think he's probably talking about getting that timing right, coming off your line. But yeah, I think a bolter would be good.
And I think Narawa does that. He does that very well. You've got to remember, he's been around for a wee while. What I like about the way he's playing is that consistency. Because he's had a lot of injuries, he looks really comfortable within what he's actually doing. He can play numerous positions, centre, you know, be it wing or even fullback. He kicks really, really well. He's a big guy. So in terms of the way he sort of, if he fits that mould and the makeup of the rest of the squad, I think he's got a high chance of making that team. You
cannot take a third winger if he doesn't cover more than one position. So Talia and Clark are specialists. The third one's got to cover another position.
No, we've got players who can cover everywhere. We've got 4 or 5 fullbacks. I mean, that's what we've got. In that squad, we've got 4 or 5 guys who could play fullback. I've got no problem finding space for these guys. No issues whatsoever. So much versatility in the group. It leaves you be able to take a few specialists, if you ask me.
He's not on my team at the moment.
You're scratching your head, JK. It wouldn't be a breakdown episode without some whispers in the corridor. Have you heard anything this week?
Voce di corridoio. Wow, this is a real good one. This is a real good one. Ricky Tally. Kieran Crowley's down here, and apparently someone got him a passport, and Ricky Tally's going to play for Italy this year. There you go. Francis Douglas, from Francis Douglas to Italy. I completely made that up. It's not true. There's no Voce di corridoio this week. But what I did want to ask you, Mils, is have you heard anything about the assistants, or what would you do?
For next year?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting topic, isn't it? Because you know, Dave Rennie's going to be out there whether he comes back to the Blues, the makeup of next year. If I had my way, obviously Razors will have the 2 Jasons, Jason Ryan and Jason Holland. You've got Leon there, also Scott Hansen, and the big kicker for me is, we've spoken about this before, is having a mentor type guy, and I'd bring soon to be Sir Wayne Smith.
Totally agree with that. But Voce di corridoio, I know you've got Voce di corridoio, but you won't tell us, and that's wrong, because people want to hear your Voce di corridoio.
No, look, this is what I'm hearing. I think next year, Beauden Barrett will be playing for the All Blacks again. He would have found a way to be involved with New Zealand rugby. We know he's going to Japan. I think he'll be back And not just in the short term, I think in the long term. I think we'll hear that sooner rather than later.
Well, talking about Yen, Voce de Corredoia, Dave Rennie will not be coming back.